and you can say hi, and I'll say you're going to do nigun, and then you're going to go. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. It's a big crowd for July. It is. It's because of you. Hope you know it's not because of me.
Wouldn't have said that.
They're used to hearing me. Well, Shabbat shalom. It is wonderful to be together anytime, but especially on Shabbat. Especially on this slightly cooler Shabbat. It's not 100 degrees outside, so many blessings to be thankful for today. And I'm excited to turn this over to Neil, who, as you can see, has a hidden talent that isn't so hidden anymore, and his nigun.
Good Shabbos, everyone. So we're going to do a nigun, but it's going to be a little bit different than what we usually do. This nigun is called Simach Tzedek. Andelai, andelai, adai, dai, 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 andelai, andelai, adai, dai, dai, andelai, andelai, adai, dai, 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 andelai, andelai, adai, dai, dai, oh, adai, dai, dai, oh, adai, dai, dai, ay, 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 oh, adai, dai, dai.
We rise for the blessing of the Shabbat candles on page 4.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kideshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu le'adlik ner v'tzivanu le'adlik ner v'tzivanu le'adlik ner shel Shabbat.
You may be seated. As we turn to page 5, Jewish tradition teaches that we always have angels looking over us, protecting us and guiding us. And on Shabbat, we have even more angels, an even more holy day, and even extra special day to turn inward and to turn outward and to find the holiness in our lives. Page 5, Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leShalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. ברכוני לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון. מי מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. צאתכם לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון. מי מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Great is Adonai, a greater sovereign than all other deities. Lechun Neranana, page 11.
לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה לאדוני. לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה לאדוני. נריע נריע לצור אישנו, לקדמה פניו בתודה. נריע נריע לצור אישנו, בזמירות נריע לו. לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה לאדוני. לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה לאדוני.
Even of the trees of the forest shall sing praise as Adonai comes to judge the earth, judging lands with righteousness and peoples with divine truth. Yismehu HaShemayim, page 14.
ישמחו השמיים, ישמחו השמיים, ישמחו השמיים, ותגל הארץ. ישמחו השמיים, ישמחו השמיים, ישמחו השמיים, ותגל הארץ. ירם הים, ירם הים, ירם הים ומלוא. ירם הים, ירם הים, ירם הים ומלוא. ישמחו השמיים, ישמחו השמיים, ישמחו השמיים, ותגל הארץ. ירם הים, ירם הים, ירם הים ומלוא. ירם הים, ירם הים, ירם הים ומלוא.
And now we welcome Shabbat, envisioned as the Shabbat bride, with Lecha Dodi, page 23.
לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. שמר וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולצילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונל חגים, מקור הברכה. בראש מגדל נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. ושלום עצרת בעלה, גם בשמחה
You may be seated. It is good to thank you, Adonai, and sing your name most high, to proclaim your love at daybreak, your faithfulness each night. Tov lehodot, page 27.
Tov, tov, tov lehodot, tov lehodot l'Adonai, ulezamer, ulezamer, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. Tov, tov, tov lehodot, tov lehodot l'Adonai, ulezamer, ulezamer, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. להגיד בבוקר חסדך, מאמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון וכינור. טוב, טוב, טוב להודות, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר, ולזמר, ולזמר לשמך עליון. טוב, טוב, טוב להודות, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר, ולזמר, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. טוב, טוב להודות, טוב להודות לאדוני.
I know we're so excited. It's finally the end of a long work week for you. It's the beginning of my work week, but the end of your work week, and that's very exciting. And we finally got a cool off in the weather, and it's rained actually, thank God. We have so much to be glad about, so much to be grateful for, and we have a lot of joy in our hearts, but in Jewish tradition reminds us we always have to pause during good times to remember those who are having a tougher time than we are. And we hold a special place in our hearts now for those whose hearts themselves are heavy with mourning, those who have suffered a loss of someone close to them. And to you we say, may God comfort you along with all the other mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. If you are currently in mourning, or if you are observing a yard site, I invite you to rise and to turn to page 30 and to join me for the Kaddish Yatom, the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, B'alma divrach yirotei v'yamlich malchutei, B'chayechon v'yomechon u'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, B'agala v'zman kari v'imru, Amen Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam almei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudesha brichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechemata da'amiram be'alma v'imru amen yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mrumav Hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. I invite everyone to now rise, turn to page 39 for the Baruch Hu and the formal start of our evening service.
Baruch Hu et Adonai hamevorach, Baruch Adonai hamevorach le'olam va'ed.
You may be seated. As we turn to page 40 for Ahavat Olam.
Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael, Beit Yisrael amcha avta, Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, chukim u'mishpatim, otzanu limata, al ken Adonai Eloheinu, b'shochveinu b'shochveinu, komei נשיח בחוקיך אהבת עולם בית ישראל עמך אהבת תורה ומצוות חוקים ומשפטים אותנו לימדת ונשמח לדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נגע יומם ולילה ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך וכל נפשך ובכל מאודך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם להיות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
We read the paragraphs on page 42.
Adonai Elohechem, amen.
Moses, Miriam, and the people Israel joyfully sang to you, "Who is like you, God among the mighty? Who is like you, adorned in holiness, revered in praise, working wonders?" Michamocha, page 44.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש נורא נורא, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש נורא נורא, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. מלכותך רבניך בוקע ים לפני משה, זה אלי ענו ואמרו. מלכותך רבניך בוקע ים לפני משה, זה אלי ענו ואמרו. כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש נורא נורא, נורא התהילות אוסף אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד מי כמוך באלים אדוני מי כמוך נהדר בקודש נורא 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 תהילות אוסף אוסף
Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, for you, God, watch over and deliver us, and you, God, are sovereign, merciful, and compassionate. Hashkivenu, page 45. What a treat. We turn to page 46 for the Vishamru.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם וביום השביעי שבת וינפש שבת וינפש שבת וינפש ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Please rise for the Chatzi Kaddish, the bottom of the page.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל בגלה בזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן בגלה בזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן
Amen.
יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעלמיה יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי לקודשה בריחו לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמא ויאמרו אמן ויאמרו אמן ויאמרו אמן ויאמרו אמן.
We turn to page 47 for the silent Amidah for Friday evening. The rabbis thought the Amidah was so important they actually made it against the rules to interrupt someone who was at prayer doing the Amidah. So important is it for us to take time during our day to have some time with God. The Amidah can be found about on page 47 through 52.
have not finished your silent Amidah, you may continue at your own pace. We'll continue back together with Shalom Rav on page 51. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom, Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. ברוך אתה אדוני המברך את עמו ישראל ושלום. So, now turn to page 52 for Oseh Shalom. I still invite you to put your arm around your neighbor and your other neighbor, although I want to try a different tune for this melody. I'm going to try a different medley. So here we go. This is one I did frequently as a counselor at Camp Ramah last year. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'agol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'agol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh Shalom Aleinu. Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'agol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'agol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'agol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'agol Yisrael.
We remain standing at our seats as we recover from a new tune. Oh, God. I did some Ramah stints. I like Ramah. We take a moment now to say a mishaberach for the cholim, a prayer for those who are in need of healing. And I think everybody at this point in life knows somebody in need of healing. So if there's anyone in your life who's in need of healing, body, mind, soul, spirit, Jewish, not Jewish, I want you to hold them in your heart, hold that name in your mind as we say the mishaberach inside back cover of your siddur.
May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing for us and all of those we love. Mishaberach imotzeinu mekor habracha le'avotzeinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
You may be seated as we turn to page 54 for the Kaddish Shalem.
יתגדל ויקדש שמי רבה,
אמן.
ועלמדי והקירותי, והמליך מלכותי, בחייכון ובימיכון ובחייך על בית ישראל, בגלה בזמן קדיב ימרו,
Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevorach, Ve'olam Ve'almaya, Yibarach.
יתברך וישתבח ויפר ויתאמר וינשא, ויתהדר ויתערב דלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושחתה ונקמתה, דמירן בעלמא וימרו, אמן. תקבל סרטון וארטון דכל ישראל, אדם ובונדי בשמיה, וימרו, אמן. יש למה רבה משמיה, וחיים על לב כל ישראל, וימרו, אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ויאמרו אמן.
Shabbat Shalom. It takes a lot of hubris to stand up and say Judaism says, to state unequivocally what Judaism says or what Judaism believes. Luckily, I'm a rabbi and we have a lot of hubris. And I have a Torah to back me up. And that Torah is very clear on the matter of life. Ha'idati b'chem hayom et hashamayim v'et ha'aretz, God says in the book of Genesis, I call heaven and earth to witness to you this day, b'charta b'chaim l'ma'an tichya ata v'erzarchecha. Choose life, that you and your offspring will live. The 5 books of Moses, the Torah, are the foundation of our religious verve. As Jews, we learn from the Torah this underpinning belief that we, us living people, are to choose life. This desire to live above almost all else guides our Jewish laws as well, our halakha. Breaking Shabbat used to be a capital offense. So you see how serious it was, knowing how much we value life. And yet, to save a life, one may break any and all of the laws of Shabbat. Light a fire, make some medicine, cook. Because as important as Shabbat is, living is more so. The debate over what happens when we die is a good example. Heaven, or is it Gehenna? Is it Olam Haba? There's no broad consensus. There's no unified Jewish theory of what comes next when you're no longer alive. Because honestly, we don't really care, at least not nearly as much about that as we do about what we do now in our lives as living people. That's what we emphasize. That's what matters. That's what Judaism believes, and I have no problem saying that with all the rabbinic hubris I have. There is, of course, a corollary question that arises if we are to choose life. When does that life begin? The question of when does life begin is inherently, it is a religious question. Medically, it's not very straightforward. Is it when there's a heart? Is it when there's a heartbeat? Is it viability outside the womb? These all have different answers, and with a range of literally months between them. And honestly, I'm not very interested in that right now. Some folks who share much of our same Bible like to cite a very famous line from Jeremiah that guides how they believe when life begins. Before I created you in the womb, God says, I knew you. Before you were born, I consecrated you. And they interpret this line in a certain direction. God here is speaking to Jeremiah, very hesitant about taking on the role of being a prophet. Jeremiah is unsure of himself. Who is he to do this task? And God reassures him, saying that he has no reason to doubt himself, that he is who he was meant to be because God always knew what he would be. It's very beautiful. It's very beautifully written poetic words from our prophets and very superfluous to the discussion for Jews, for us Jews. Because we have our own religious definition as to when life begins, and it comes not from these later books, these prophets, but from the Torah itself, from the very story of creation. When God created Adam, the very first human being, and God breathed the breath of life into that very first person, Adam nefesh chaya, and that person became a living being. Our ancient and medieval rabbis who then wrote the laws that we base our lives on now, base all of their writings on abortion, on these two fundamental ideas, that life is holy and to be preserved at all costs, and that life begins not at conception, not at fertilization, not at an electrical pulse beating, but at taking a breath. It is tempting, I must admit, to go on and on now, to detail how our rabbis 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago even, directly addressed abortion. And they did. They did. If you haven't read the Mishnah, the Talmud, the Rambam, what you see in there, our ancient and medieval rabbis spoke in very clear language about the status of what we now call a zygote or a fetus, about how only once a woman is in labor or a baby takes a breath, then and only then are we dealing with two distinct lives. If you haven't read this stuff, it might shock you. If you haven't read modern day, traditional, very traditional, orthodox psak, very religious, very traditional, classic men, they have very nuanced and complex opinions on maternal, physical, and mental health, on fetuses and abnormalities. If you haven't read what these very traditional men said, it might shock you. And if you're not familiar with modern Israeli law, the only law in the world based on Jewish Orthodox religious law, you can't have a civil wedding in Israel. You can't have a conservative or a reform wedding in Israel. There is a singular approach to religious law. And in Israel, one can procure an abortion without question in cases of maternal, mental, or physical, or emotional health concerns, fetal health concerns, in any case of rape, incest, or adultery, if you are under 18 or over 40 or not married, and even if you don't fall into one of those categories, 96% of abortions are approved. And not just that, partially or fully subsidized. If you didn't know that about Israeli law, it might shock you. But I don't want to derail us. Jewish law, halacha, which as a religious Jewish person I strive to live my life by, shapes my viewpoints, make my choices, makes very clear that the life of the person who is pregnant, the mother, that is the life we prioritize, and it is ultimately her decision. In Jewish law, you may decline life-saving treatments and continue a pregnancy, even if you know your baby will outlive you, because you want your baby to be born, even at the risk of your own life. Jewish law says that's your choice, and you can make it. And you can make the very serious and often heart-wrenching decision to end a pregnancy. If you or that baby will suffer, sicken, or die, that's your choice too. And this is often left out of this discussion, but it's so common. 1 in 4, 1 in 5 pregnancies end in miscarriage, just naturally, without any outside influence. I don't think I know a woman who hasn't experienced that. And often, upon suffering a miscarriage, the body simply cannot expel what it must, and the treatment for that, medically, clinically, is abortion, without which you could well die. By ending the protection for anyone in this country to make the choice to secure an abortion, Jewish lives, lots of lives, are imperiled. Bacharta b'chaim, God tells us, choose life. But we are being told by others that we can't. How very un-American. This 4th of July weekend, we are celebrating the founding of this great nation and the brilliant and brave men who made it happen. Often, for the 4th of July, rabbis like to pull quotes from them. Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, and the nice things they said about Jews hundreds of years ago, putting them at odds with other thinkers and leaders at the time. For example, John Adams said Jews are, quote, the most essential instrument for civilizing nations. There you go. That Jewish thought has influenced the affairs of mankind more and happily than any other nation, ancient or modern. Thanks, John. That's sweet. Thomas Jefferson said, nothing is wiser than all our institutions should keep pace with the advance of time and be improved with the improvements of the human mind. He was writing about how Jews need to be included in higher education, but there were some theology requirements placed on them by these institutions. He said, I have thought it a cruel addition to the wrongs which that injured sect, he means us Jews, have suffered, that their youth should be excluded from the instructions in science afforded to all others in our public seminaries by imposing on them a course of theological reading which their consciences do not permit them to pursue. That's some enlightened stuff, right? That's nice. That's nice stuff. But it's become in vogue of late to diminish or even deride these kinds of statements and our founding fathers for making them. This opposition, it comes from a good place, I think. Declares, oh yeah, Adams, Jefferson, they said these nice things about Jews, all well and good, but in their private correspondence, they thought Jews should eventually just convert. They actually said they thought Jews were wrong. And to be honest, it's not untrue. Adams, Jefferson, they often said in their private letters, and we can see these, they have copies, that they didn't think Jewish theology was correct, that the Jewish interpretation of our shared Bible was the right way to do it. Jefferson actually said that our concept of God was cruel, vindictive, capricious, and unjust. Well, dang, Tom. I mean, I disagree. But that's the crux of it, right? Our founding fathers, they weren't lying. They did think positively of Jews, that we did good things in the world, that we should be included in all strata of society, and free to believe and practice as our conscience allowed. And they really didn't agree with our religious viewpoint, and that's okay. To our founding fathers, whose vision shaped this nation, America is meant to be a place of many viewpoints. We didn't have to agree with each other. In all likelihood, they knew we wouldn't, as long as there's room at the table for everyone. Those men who wrote our Constitution, they were smart. They could have made this a country with one religion, like so very many before it. But our founding fathers, they were not stupid. They chose purposefully not to do that because they want America to be a land not where we all think and look and act the same, but a land where we agree and disagree and strive to love, or at least tolerate, each other through it all. Rabbi David Wolpe wrote that in last week's Torah portion, Shlach Lecha, we read about the story of the scouts sent to assess our land. We read the story, he says, of the future of a nation and a story of division. As you remember, there were some scouts who were sent out. They see the land, and some scouts look and see the land. They see fertile land, there's a bounty, and others look in, they see monsters waiting to devour us. Rabbi Wolpe says that we were reminded that members of the same community can peer into a land simultaneously, with some of them seeing monstrosities and others beauty. We read, he says, that our God pushes us past fear and toward hope, even when it seems lost, and towards creating the future, the land, and the nation we deserve and need. On the eve of the 246th birthday of this great country, and the end of the judicial decision allowing Jews and others to make a choice that saves lives, let us pray with the words of our mouths and the works of our hands that this land becomes more and more every day that which our founding fathers envisioned it to be. As George Washington wrote to Touro Synagogue a few years after the founding, his hopes that America would be for the Jews and others a land where everyone would sit in safety under their own vine and fig tree, and there shall be none to make them afraid. Shabbat Shalom, and may God continue to bless the United States of America. We rise, turn to page 56 for Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר הארץ, ומושב יקרו השמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחתינו. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. Oh no, I need that actually. That's announcements. At Beth Yeshurun, we extend our condolences to the families of Joyce Arlene Oppenheimer, Jerry Harris, Gary Markowitz, Lisa Streisand, Marvin J. Rosenberg, Norbert Nathan Buxbaum, Gail Levinton, and Olivia Reiner, who were taken from our community and their loved ones in recent days. If you are in mourning or if you are observing Yahrzeit, I invite you to turn to page 58 and join me for the Mortis Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma divrach kirotei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam al mei al maya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh V'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shmei kudashah, brechu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiram be'alma v'imru, amen, yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'imrumav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. You may be seated, and may all of our loved ones' memories be for a blessing. We have 2 anniversaries tonight. Celebrating 48 years, Harriet and Arnold Eisenstein. Are you here tonight? Yeah. They're watching. I thought you were here. This past year, you were blessed to have spent enjoying your children and grandchildren. You're celebrating your oldest grandson's graduation from UT Dallas with a degree in biomedical engineering. That's impressive. It's smarter than me. And you are looking forward to your granddaughter's bat mitzvah next August 2023. So good. Now you have to come every Shabbat, though, now I'm looking for you. Harriet and Arnold, we wish you many years of health, happiness, and only simchas, only good things with your beautiful family. Mazal tov on 48 years. Mazel tov. And I know they're not here, but I know they're watching this time. 52 years, Marvin and Debbie Crane. Give them a round of applause. They're watching. 2020 was your 50th. So it's a little bit past due. And you did not celebrate because of COVID. You had the unique experience of visiting your son's ranch in Paso Robles on the first week of July 2021. All your kids and grandkids spent the week with you, and it was spectacular. On July 3rd, 2021, you celebrated the last day of your 51st year together with a lunch at Cass Winery. Nice. The next day, you celebrated the first day of your 52nd year with all the kids around you, and it was fabulous. I know that we all know this past year has been extremely difficult dealing with Marvin's health. However, a few weeks ago, you celebrated your son Neve's 50th birthday in Saratoga Springs, and once again, you were reunited with all your grandkids at the event. You feel very blessed with your great kids and your grandkids, and we hope you have a continued health, only good things as you grow in strength and health and happiness this year and for the rest of your very, very long married life together. Mazal tov on 52 years. We accommodate. If you're here, you're not, well, we will accommodate. We're happy for you regardless. Only a few announcements, saved by Neil, thank you. Oneg following services in the fine atrium. You just go out there, you see a table with food and lots of Jews. Just as a reminder, if you had any business you needed done at the Shul office, you can't do it till Tuesday because our offices will be closed for the 4th of July, which is Monday. Be safe with those firecrackers. Watch your fingers, everybody. We have a couple of virtual social action opportunities coming up this summer. You can go to our social action page on our website, look for volunteer opportunities, look at our social media, find lots of ways to participate. Preschool-aged children often fall through the gap of social services addressing food insecurity. Kids Meals Houston addresses the hunger and food insecurity for children around age 6 and younger who cannot access school-based free meal programs. If you're not in school, you can't get free school meals, and that's a real problem. When school is out, Kids Meals provides 7,500 kids per day a healthy meal. Bethy Sheeran is supporting Kids Meals Houston mission by participating in the 2022 Summer Juice Box Challenge. Our goal is to collect 2,000 juice boxes over the summer. That's be 100% juice, but you can get those I get the big packs from Costco, because my kid goes through like at least one a day. So just so you know, Costco. Look for the link to purchase juice boxes online to be sent directly to Kids Meals. We also have boxes set up here so you can bring your 100% juice boxes to help us reach our goal, 2,000 boxes. Throughout the year, we collaborate with Search Homeless Services on many projects. We have 3 moms newly housed in programs, and they're recently given birth. Search is asking for postpartum essentials for these women and their babies. Look for our Amazon wish list on our website to provide much-needed supplies. 100 Jewish Men. Honey fundraiser is open. Buy your kosher honey for yourself or as a gift before August 1st for no additional shipping. The link is on our website homepage. July 27th, Sisterhood is collaborating again with Celebration Company to assemble our honeyless honey cakes. If you ever had one, they taste exactly like honey. And I don't know how they do that, because there's no honey in them, but they taste exactly like honey, perfect for high holidays. If you're interested in participating in the assembling of the bags, please go to our website, Shocking, for more information and to register. Finally, if you or a loved one is in the hospital or a rehab facility, because of privacy laws, which is a good thing, we don't know at the synagogue unless you tell us. So if you or someone you love is in the hospital and you'd like them to be visited by a rabbi, you gotta let the synagogue know. Because once we know, we can check up. But if we don't know, we don't know. So please let us know. You can contact Lisa Unsel with your friend or loved one's information. So please let us know if you're in the hospital, and we'll come visit you. But if you don't tell us, we have no way of knowing. I think that's all our beautiful announcements. I see we do actually have children, so I can do a blessing of the children. So if you are here with your daughter, no matter how old she is, even if she's old enough to have her own children, if you are here with your daughter, you'll say, Yisimech Elohim Kesara Rivka Rechav V'Leah, may God bless you and make you like Sarah, Becca, Rachel, and Leah. If you are here with your son, and he'll sit still long enough to put a hand on the head, or if your son's up here, he's got admirers. Over our sons, we say, Yisimcha Elohim Ke'Ephraim Echem Menashe, may God bless you and make you like Ephraim and Menashe. And if you're here with your family, have a nice family, little, group squeeze. For all of our families, we will say, Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerech, may God bless you and protect you. Ye'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichonech, may God shine the divine light on you always. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasim lecha shalom, may God grant you the most special of blessings that have shalom, peace, and let us all say to that, Amen. You may rise, turn to page 55 for the Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch V'rosh Shemo,
Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch V'rosh Shemo,
Eloheinu melech haolam, asher tideshanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu. Shabbat Kodsho ve'ava u'ratzon inchilanu zikaron le'masei bereishit ki hu yom techila lemikra'ei kodesh zeicher letziot Mitzrayim ki banu v'acharta ve'otam Shabbat Kodshecha be'ava u'ratzon inchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai
Baruch V'rosh Shemo,
Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat 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 Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat 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 Shalom, Shabbat 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 Shalom, Shabbat 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 Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat 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 Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat 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 Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.